A 19-year-old freshman at Indiana University went on a spelunking trip to Sullivan Cave, but during the trip, he got separated from caving club members and eventually got trapped all alone in the dark cave, with only animals and insects as his companions. Sullivan Cave, located approximately 10 miles south of Bloomington, is proudly the fourth longest cave in the state, boasting an impressive 9.63 miles of map passages. This underground wonder is situated on a 28-acre property owned by the Indiana Karst Conservancy, a nonprofit organization dedicated to safeguarding the karst landscape of the state. Explorers have been aware of a 40-foot section of Sullivan Cave, stretching from the entrance to the Waterfall Room and a portion of the crevice passage since the 1840s. One notable feature is the Backbreaker, a room with an extended passage and a low ceiling that requires explorers to crawl through. Interestingly, this room earned its name due to the physical challenge it poses. Adding to the historical significance, markings dating back to the late 1800s have been discovered within the Backbreaker room, providing a glimpse into the cave's past and the explorations that have taken place over the years. Sullivan Cave gained its fame in the 1960s, but as the years passed, it faced a notable issue: vandalism. To safeguard this renowned cave, a crucial decision was made. In January 1990, a huge gate was installed at the main entrance of Sullivan Cave, ensuring that only responsible cavers could access it. In October 1998, the Indiana Karst Conservancy purchased the cave. This nonprofit organization took on the responsibility of preserving and protecting Sullivan Cave. Within the depths of the cave, you'll discover impressive stalagmite formations, some of considerable size, along with an assortment of smaller formations hanging from the ceilings and sides of the rooms in a scattered arrangement. Many of these formations, referred to as stubs, bear the mark of having been broken off in the past. What sets Sullivan Cave apart is not just its geological wonders, but also the diverse biological life that thrives within. Among them is a modest bat population, including pipistrelle, Indiana, and little brown bats. As you explore, you'll encounter a variety of creatures, such as salamanders, isopods, beetles, amphipods, and cave crayfish, contributing to the cave's rich ecosystem. On Sunday, September 17, 2017, Lucas Kavar, a 19-year-old freshman whose parents are linguistics professors at Indiana University, participated in a beginner's spelunking trip organized by the university. The outing was coordinated by the university's long-standing caving club, active on campus since the 1950s, aiming to promote responsible caving practices and provide opportunities to explore caves in the area. Lucas, who had never been spelunking before, joined the university's caving club, the organizer of the trip. The excursion included Lucas and 11 other members, accompanied by a university staff member, divided into two groups to explore Sullivan Cave for several hours. As part of the safety measures, each participant was assigned a buddy to ensure proper precautions during the cave exploration. During the cave exploration, Lucas got separated from the group at a long and low passage called the Backbreaker. He didn't like that part of the cave, so he left his group to join another one, but ended up getting lost. This was the beginning of his woes. He tried his best to find his way into the cave, and he eventually made his way back to the gate at the cave's entrance at about 2 p.m. Unfortunately, he found out that the club members had padlocked the gate, and this could only mean that they had left, and they were unaware that he remained inside. A shock went down his spine, and it dawned on him that he was trapped. Or worse, he was trapped without food or water. Lucas couldn't get a cell phone signal in the cave, so he spent hours shouting, hoping someone would hear him. He kept yelling, thinking that people driving on a nearby road might notice. Sadly, he was stuck in an area surrounded by concrete and metal bars, making it impossible for his cries for help to reach anyone. Despite his efforts, no one responded. As he looked around, the only companions he found were bats, salamanders, crayfish, and beetles, providing the sole company in his isolated situation. After realizing the situation he was in with no help, he was in very, very bad shape. That first day, he was panicking and very confused. He really didn't take any time to sit down and think about his situation. He was pretty sure he wouldn't make it out of that cave at that point, but who could blame him? After all, he was stranded in a cave without food or water, and sadly, he was unsure that he would ever see his family again. He needed some time to control his feelings, so he decided to think carefully and come up with a plan to stay safe. First, he remembered he had a paper clip and tried to use it to unlock the door, but it didn't work. As evening approached on the first day he was trapped, Lucas evaluated the items he had with him, his surroundings, and how he could prolong his survival. He was dressed in light clothes, hiking boots, and a helmet. He had a plastic bag, 2 energy bar wrappers, 2 empty water bottles, a cell phone, and a wallet. He used the wrappers from energy bars to gather moisture, while the water bottles served as containers for rainwater and water collected in puddles within the cave. To satisfy his thirst, he resorted to licking the damp walls of the cave. The persistent feeling of hunger made him think about searching for cave crickets, even though he ultimately stopped himself from consuming any of these tiny insects. Once night came, Lucas took out his phone and started writing down exactly how he got lost at first, his condition, what supplies he had, and any other thoughts. As it got darker outside, the cave grew colder. It was then concluded that to help himself survive for long, he needed to get some rest and do some thinking. He checked his gadgets, and his battery was around 56% on his phone, and his headlamp seemed fine so far. He decided that he would try to conserve the power on those gadgets in the hope that help would come soon. Finally left with no choice, he spent his first night in the cold Sullivan Cave. The next day, Monday, his quest for survival continued as he hoped for a miracle. To survive in any situation, food is necessary. Lucas looked around for possible food sources that could sustain him. He saw many salamanders and spiders. Later, he thought of his family and how they didn't know the situation he was in. He wondered if they had started looking for him. At 3:45, he had already missed all classes that day. This gave him hope that surely somebody would have noticed his absence. Alone in the cave, another day went by, and no one showed up to rescue him. By night, he was preparing to spend the second night in the cave and hoped that the temperature change wouldn't be too drastic. To make matters worse, he saw bats and snakes coming out and thought to himself, "Feels like Halloween coming early." He wondered whether he would see his family and friends again, and began typing goodbye notes on his phone before its battery died, since it was his second day in the cave, just in case his long-awaited rescue didn't come and he died in the cave. That night, he dreamed of people rescuing him and hoped help would indeed come. It turned out that some of his friends had already noticed that he missed all the classes that day. They noticed that he missed physics class on Monday, which was unlike him. His friend, 18-year-old Sam Norrell, knew that Lucas was not one to miss class. He has never missed a single class since college started, making them worried about his unannounced absence. Also, Lucas would never miss work without calling in. He'd have to be very sick not to call work. That was where they knew something was seriously wrong. They searched all around for him, and when they couldn't find Lucas around campus, they contacted the caving club. After hearing of the situation, they realized that he might still be in the cave. Meanwhile, when Lucas was in the cave, his parents were trying to call him, but he didn't reply to their text. They got worried and quickly told the university police that he was missing. Lucas's high school friend also told the president of the caving club that Lucas was nowhere to be found. On Tuesday night, September 19th, 2 club members immediately returned to the cave. The club leaders also contacted the Lawrence County Sheriff's Department and the Indiana Department of Natural Resources for assistance that night. They discovered a stack of clothes in the vehicle the club members used for their trip to the cave on Sunday, making them realize they had made a big mistake. Lucas's long-awaited prayers for help were finally answered as the 2 club leaders arrived at the Sullivan Cave. When they arrived at the cave, they found Lucas fast asleep, curled up at the entrance. They felt relieved to see he wasn't hurt. The bright rescue lights woke him up, and it took a moment for him to remember the cave and understand where he was. Once it clicked, he hurriedly got up and climbed out. The details of the rescue were a bit blurry for Lucas, but he remembered that the club members who found him brought a Big Mac and a pasta meal, both of which he happily ate after being hungry for days. Upon his return, his dorm mates, including Sam, eagerly awaited him. They embraced him tightly, shedding tears as they assisted in wiping away the dirt from his face. Overjoyed that their friend had emerged safely from a distressing ordeal, they stayed awake until the early hours of Wednesday morning, listening to Lucas's account of his experiences within the cave. So you may be wondering what happened since they employed a buddy caving system. Well, according to his assigned buddy, there was a buddy check at the entrance of the cave. However, since he got separated from his buddy inside the cave at the Backbreaker while trying to join another group, his buddy lost sight of him. As they left the cave, the buddy told the leaders that he didn't see Lucas, assuming he was with the other group. Also, the cars for carpooling got rearranged because some people had to leave early, so no one noticed that Lucas was missing. In all that happened, Lucas didn't suffer any serious injuries and was glad to be alive. It felt like he had been given a second chance. After going through a medical checkup, Lucas resumed classes on Thursday and started getting rabies shots. Happy to be safe, he posted a message to Facebook. Just wanted to let everyone know that I'm safe and sound. Just got rescued about 30 minutes ago. Boy, it's good to be back on the surface. However, he does not plan to go on another spelunking trip again. Meanwhile, the club felt sorry for what happened, and they apologized to Lucas. On an internal Indiana University website, the club posted a statement that was published in the student newspaper. We have a series of rigorous protocols in place that are supposed to prevent situations like this, but they are only effective if followed, the statement said. We had a failure in our leadership to closely follow all these safety procedures. On the club's website, you can find safety guidelines that list the importance of informing someone about your destination and expected return time. We would like to thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed watching, take a dive on the like and subscribe buttons and hit the bell icon so you get notified when we come back with another exciting cave diving story.